Kumlen and Ablat Gemara. We are up to Daf Lamed Aleph Amid Aleph, and we're up to Iboy Luhu, about 5 lines from the top. We had an argument where we had 3 opinions. We had an Rabbanan that hold that everybody could go in without mikveh. Had Ben Zayma that it's Mahat Torah, that you require going to the mikveh before you walk in, because Madach Chaim Gadol has to go to the mikveh when he's changing from Kodesh to Kodesh. Surely even going from Chol to Kodesh, you have to go in the mikveh. And then you had in the Brisa the Rabbanon, the Rabbi Huda, who says it's only mid the Rabbanon because we're worried about a Tumah Yeshana, an old Tumah. Okay, says the Gemara, I have a question. Can somebody produce a very long knife, the Yishchait and Shech? So he himself is not inside the base of Migdash, but the knife is. Does he still have to go to mikveh? My question is, according to Bezaim, the carbon itself is 100% kosher. We don't care where you're standing. The main thing is that the carbon animal has to be inside the base of Migdash. And that's happening. So who cares where you're standing? Question is, so according to Ben Zaymer, who's very machbir, says it's mahat to go to mikveh. In this case, you have to go to mikveh, but you're standing outside. But the avoida, we look at the nifl of the poil. The boyel Rabbana, we're asking Rabbana, the pligal the Rabbi Yehuda. We're asking Rabbana who argue Rabbi Yehuda, and they say that nobody needs tefillah. Rabbi Yehuda says that a Messiah needs tefillah because he got so used to, because Daish tefillah, he hit him the tumah. He got so used to tumah, so we're worried that maybe he's not used to it, so he has to go to mikveh again. And so everybody else doesn't need to mikveh. What would they hold in this case? You're standing inside. Nobody's saying, no. Or maybe not. Since you're shechting inside, maybe there's a chance you might be drawn in to check it out or something, and therefore, and mahatreda to be going to mikveh. So we're worried because that even though you're outside, you should go to mikveh. That's one question. My question also according to Rabbanan argue Rabbi Yehuda, they say that nobody requires tefillah generally. There you start walking in, you don't have to do you don't have to go to mikveh. But here you do an avodah, you're shechting. Even though we had before, it's not really an avodah, but it's a tchilas avodah. I do malosh now. Maybe it's no difference. You don't have to go to mikveh. Take
pretty long. And to have your hand in such a way that it shouldn't be a sheer drasa.
The main thing is it shouldn't be a sheer drasa because it's so long, it's heavy probably. You probably lean on it, whatever. It's hot. What?
There's a stand somewhere along the way that you slide the blade along the stand.
Okay, maybe.
So as you say, like a Y-shaped stand somewhere to support the blade. It's so
okay. Says the Chamesh Tfilis, the Kohen Gadol throughout the day, and we'll learn later the details, has to go to mikveh 5 times, and Vasada Kedushin, he washes his hands and feet 10 times. Every time he takes off clothes and puts on clothes, he washes his hands. So see Machlek is a mer how that works. Torah, we learned Chamesh Tfilis, the 5 Tfilis, Vasada Kedushin, and 10 times you wash your hands. Toivel Kohen Gadol Mekadosh baby Yom, that he goes to the mikveh and he washes his hands. Kulan, where does it all take place? Back Kodesh. All the tefillahs take place inside the base of Migdash. Remember over there, which was based on Parva upstairs, which is inside the base of Migdash, which is all the way on the western, on the southern wall, the southern western wall. The base of Parva, if you look here, it would be, see, right here. The base of Parva is here. So he's here. That's base of Parva, right?
Yep.
And this is Shar Hamayim. This is outside the base of English. So the very first tevilah that they all do in the morning, remember we learned that it has to be done a chayil. That's right here. And the rest of the tevilah which is done inside the base of English for the Kohen Gadol are done in here, upstairs. Now this is nestled in the mountain, and there's a spring over here called Ein. Over here there's a spring over here called Ein Eitim, the spring of Eitim, and that spring flows right into this water here.
It's upstairs.
True, but it's nestled in the mountain. It has to be.
It's built on the roof.
Yeah, I know that they're both on the roof. But how does the water get in there? So they must have been nestled in the mountain somehow. I don't know how.
Maybe the least the Romans leveled the ground.
Yeah, but the point is that Chizkiyahu tunnel is low. This is upstairs. How high?
It says that there was a spring 23
That's
from
it.
the,
That's it. That's
from
what
the
we're learning
top
now.
of the
This is the Ein Eitim.
The mountain's up there. The Romans removed the mountain. They made them dig it out.
I think because south on high ground, they bring it up on water pressure. In other words, water keeps its own level, correct?
Yeah, but the idea this is the highest spring in Israel.
You know what that is? It's south of what do you call it? It's south of Gush Etzion.
It goes everywhere. The Rashi brings here that this river flows everywhere and becomes the boundaries of all Israel. Rashi says over here, it's a river called the Main Niftoyach. What is? All right, and according to the side, it's not Hagvul b'chol Yisrael, but Hagvoya b'chol Yisrael. Yeah, but it can't be. It has to be right next to the base of the Mikdash. Yeah, but what you see today is not what it was. They raised mountains. You know what they did there.
They did the slave labor. They removed the whole Harabais. They dropped the level of it.
Because the reason from Roman times they've actually done it by
So you're saying it was higher than the base of Mikdash, a couple of miles down, and then it traveled. But how did it go uphill?
Because if you have enough water,
Yeah, I don't know. Look at the Gemara here further. Omer Abaye says Abaye Shmamin of maybe see sorry, skip a line. But Kulam Bakoy pay the power of Chutz Marishaina, except the very first mikveh that he goes into, Shahaya Bachoil, that was we just saw over there. That was outside Al Gabi Sharamayim. That's on top of the Sharamayim. Ubit Sadlish Chose Haisa. And that was right next to his lish. Otherwise the Abaye. Shmamina, we see from here, Ein Eitam Gavoya Mekarka Azora. We say this is the tallest spring. How high is it from the ground of the Azora? It has to be 23 amas. 20 amas because every doorway was 20 amas. And 3 amas because the mikveh we learned before already has to be 3 amas. This is on the second floor. So this is on top of the roof. The roof is 20 amas high. So this is on top of that. So it's 23 amas of cheshbon. And this spring had to be 23 amas high. Why spring has to be 23 amas high if it can go up? What's his raya then? His whole raya is that because it has to go down. If it has to go up, it could have been 15 amas. Who knows where it was? And then it just traveled up. It sounds like from here that this spring was somewhere nearby and it was at the same level, flowing down the mountain, or straight at least, to this mikveh. Does he spell out where it was? Spring? Or you just quote Rashi, the guy we just quoted? Yeah. Was there a spring right next to the base of mikveh?
Yeah, the Kelly base on the correct. Sharon was 20 amas high.
Yeah, that's 23. Yeah. But where was that spring? It's like Rashi says, it sounded like it was right there, and because if it was not there, it was far away, and it just traveled upwards the mountain. It could have been. What's the highest 20 amas high?
No, it doesn't.
It must be that the spring was right there, somewhere. Gotta do it. Yeah.
The actual spring was above.
I'm saying that's what it says. You have to get a Steinsaltz to see what you do some research. Anyway, now we learned all the doorways, all the floors were 20 amas high. The door was 10 amas wide. Except the ulam, which was 20 by 40. The time we learned the 10 amas high and 40 wide. But the time we learned the rachatz, this sort of mayim, he should bathe himself before already. Bathe himself and immerse himself totally in the water. And mikveh called mayim shkol gufi oil ben. We made a whole cheshbon that the entire body should go in. It goes 3 amas high. Because you already asked, how do you know that it was 1 amma wide and 3 amas tall? Maybe it was 3 amas wide, 1 amma tall. I guess this is normally how we go when you step inside. So in other words, since it was 23 amas, so the top of the mikveh was 23 amas high, and the water has to get in there from the top of the mikveh. So it must be that Ein Eitim was 23 amas high. It's clear that it's right there. I ask a simple question about Ika Amma Tikra, Amma Maziv. What are you talking about? There had to be the roof. Before you have a second story, you have to have the roof of the first floor. So that probably was an amma thick. And then you had to have another amma because you're going to put water. Water is heavy, and you don't want the water to to escape, but to seep right through. So it had to be another amma. So there's 2 more ammas. So it's 25 ammas because of the roof. The thick, the 20 ammas was the space, the internal space. What about the roof, and what about above that? So it should be 25 ammas high, and in 8 should be 25. Says the Gemara, answers the Gemara, Sha'orim the base Hamikdash, since the materials made out given the Shishinu made out of marble, because they're marble and therefore nothing seeps through. First of all, and they're also very strong. You didn't need an amma thick. It could have been much, much thinner, maybe on a tefach or less thickness. Is b'mashu of the law, they did much less, and once it's much less, they don't count it. What about a little bit? Keeping because it's so little, they didn't count it.
Anything less than an amma doesn't count.
Yeah, you're around it, and probably it's closer to less than half of an amma as well. Porsu sadin shabut, they spread out a linen of boots. They'll spread out a linen between the mikveh. Maishno shabuts. Why did they spread out dafke linen? They to make a partition by the mikveh that nobody should have privacy. They made out of linen. Boy, his clothes were out of linen. Why did this partition have to be made out of linen? It was mechitza. So you want to go to Kadesh, everyone should recognize avodas hayom bebik de habutz. That today there's avodah Yom Kippur especially, and all the avodas will be done with wearing this linen clothes. A kohen has to wear 8 clothes. Some of them made of gold, and so on. How can I big boots? Put them in the boots. Everyone should know that the Goni wears a big boots. Says the Mishnah, Kosha, he stripped his weekday clothes. The Yorad, he went down. The Toval, and he went into the mikveh. Allah, he went up. Then he's tapping. He wrapped himself up in the towel and he dried himself. Hey, Vila, then they brought him big days off. They brought him golden clothes, his first golden vestments for the day. The lavash, he dressed it. The kiddush yodav v'raglav. So it says here, after he put on the golden clothes, he washed his hands from the kiyah. Every time they change clothes, they wash the hand. That's why there's 2. Taking off clothes, putting on clothes, so you wash your hands twice. How it was, but they used to wash twice for every one mikveh. There was 2 washings. And he took off the weekday clothes. He didn't wash his hands because all he did is took off weekday clothes. It's not an activity. He only washed his hands for the first time when he put on his Yom Kippur clothes or his Kuna clothes. Maybe he said Tommy the Brum the Tommy so he started the shchita. He did enough just to be yaitze, but he didn't finish it because he's the one who has to capture the blood. Someone else completed the shchita al yoda after him. Rashi says al yoda means because of him. Or it means after him. Rashi is a cloud. Whenever it says in Shas, al yoda, it can mean al yoda because of him or after him. And Rashi says many times the Tanakh says al yoda means afterwards. Kibul is Adam the Kohen Gadol had to want to be captured blood, Rezorka, and then he sprinkled it. And then Nichnis lahaktik toides, so Shachar. Then he went in to bring in the toides of the morning, and to clean out the candles. Whether it means to clean the candles and light them, which is what the Rambam holds, or just to clean out the candles, like Rashi says. And then to bring up the head, he's the one who goes onto the ramp after and to bring it up from the ramp to the mizbech, because most of the is done by him. And he brings the korban machves, that's the frying pan mincha that we do have, half in the morning, half at night, that goes together with the korban tummy. He did that. The esayah, the wine that goes along with it. When did he bring the toidah? So the morning, between the sprinkling of the blood and bringing up the limbs, is when he did the toidah. So the morning, and when did he do the afternoon one? Between bringing up the limbs from the ramp and pouring the wine. If let's say the Kohen Gadol was an old man, or he's very fastidious, or he's very delicate, fragile, mikvah is freezing cold. It's spring water. They would heat up water, they would put it into the cold water, merely kadesh tafik, not to give him a warm mikvah or a hot mikvah, forget about it, just to ease the cold. One out to was to have a warm mikvah. Imagine the olden day, Dafka went to a cold mikveh. Dafka went to a cold mikveh, a natural water. Says about it. Amru Rabbana Kamed Rapapa, the Rabbanan learning for Rapapa said it seems that our Mishnah Hod the Loiker Rameir does not conform with Rameir. Our Mishnah that says the first Tevila you only wash your hands once, right? Remember the first time you put on your table, you're putting on your golden clothes for the first time. You only wash your hands once before your golden clothes. It seems that our Mishnah does not follow Rameir. What do you mean? What do you call it? The Rabbanan hold that you wash before you take off your clothes. You wash your hands, then you take off your clothes, then you go to mikveh, and so on. The Meir holds after you take off your clothes, you wash your hands. So yeah, so Meir holds when you take your clothes. So Meir holds after you take off your clothes, you wash your hands. And according to the Meir, according to the Rabbana, the washing the hands are taking off clothes, and the other washings for putting on. According to the Meir, both washings were for putting on the next garment. One is before mikveh, one is after mikveh. Nothing to do with a half shut. Okay, so according to the Meir, you take off, you wash your hands, go to mikveh, wash your hands, you put on. In other words, both wash.
That's what I'm asking. I don't understand.
Maybe you wore this one thing or something. We'll see later. Tomorrow talks about in detail how it all goes. No, we'll see how it's done. See that it's done. Right in front of the basement. Who? Okay, says the Gemara, but he holds that both washing hands have to do with the new clothes you're putting on, one before mikveh, one after mikveh. According to the Rabbanan, the first one, the washing hands is after is right before you take off the other clothes. So you know what? One washing is for taking off clothes, and one washing is putting on new clothes. So therefore, according to the Rabbanan, it makes sense why you don't wash your hands when you take off your chol clothes, because chol clothes don't wash hands. But according to the Meir, that both washing hands are for the new clothes you're putting on. So according to the Meir, you should have washed your hands, then go to the mikveh and then wash your hands again for the first clothing. And the Mishnah only says you wash your hands once. Clearly, our Mishnah is not like our Meir. Says he what did I make? Kim Lama take kedusha alavisha, but both kedusha washing hands up for the new clothing you're putting on. Why does our Mishnah say you only wash your hands once the first time you put on your gold clothes? You wash twice, once before mikveh and once after mikveh. The Papa says no. Just because the Meir holds that you wash your hands, after you took it off, and the one holds before, doesn't mean that they argue. The Meir still holds that attributes the first washing to the clothes, relates back to the clothes you just took off, and the next section washes from the clothes. And I'm arguing that. Let's see, it's when you wash your hands. So what's machlekes? It says the pasuk. It says you take off your clothes. The rocha says you should wash yourself. The lavash and you put on your clothes. So that Meir Sava Makish we compare pshita. Taking off your clothes, levisha putting on your clothes. Ma levisha, so it's exactly concept. Just like when you put on clothes, levish, first you put it on. The achakach makadosh, you put on your clothes and then you wash your hands. So av pshita. Also, when you take off your clothes, you first take off your clothes and the achakach, then you wash your hands. Just like when you put on your clothes, you wash your hands right after you put them on. So too, when you take off your clothes, you wash your hands right. You take off, but it still relates to the clothes you took off. That's why in our Mishnah make it also work out because the first clothing was big dechel. There's no point in washing your hands, and when you make it up, is the last clothes you take off. But the Rabban, no, the washing is with the clothing exactly. The Rabban hold makish, you're right. Makish pshita levisha, but in what way? Ma levisha kishu lavush mekadosh. He's fully dressed when he washes his hands. Ab pshita also when you take off your clothes kishu lavush mekadosh. You wash your hands and you're fully dressed, not after you strip yourself. How can you say that? But Tanya will learn clearly. You put on this sheet between him and the people. Pashadi took off his clothes. He went to the mikveh. He went and he took off his clothes. He went down to the mikveh to like our Mishnah says. Toval when the mikveh, Olive and his went up and he wiped himself. Hey, viyu like big days of. They brought him golden clothes. The lovage put him on. Then Bikita Jalvi. It's like our Mishnah. But the Meir clearly says in the Braisa, Parshad, you took off your weekday clothes. In other words, the Meir clearly is learning that both Kedushim have to do with the new clothes. One after you put it on, and the first one before you went to the mikveh. Yorav the Yorav and Tavel, all of it is stopping. When the mikveh, you came back up. Heviyu like big days off, they brought him golden clothes. The Lavash with Kid Yorav, and they put it on. Amalui, Tanya, stay straight. Okay, I'm not going to argue for the Braisa.
You have to go back in front of the thing to bring you water.
We'll see you later. The Gemara shows exactly the whole ritual. Said the Gemara, Bishleim Meir, according to Meir, now we understand how in Mishkach last Sada Kedusha you find 10 Kedushas, because there were 5 times to change your clothes. So from the very beginning, you did 2, and each time you did 2. Well, the Rabbanan teach only 9, because the first time you only did 1. Where's your 10th one? And look, Rabbanan Kedusha Basra, the last time when you took off your clothes, even though you were now changing it to big dechel, the last time you took off your clothes, you washed your hands then. You did it then. That's how it works out.
So
Okay.
according to the Rabbanon, that last Kiddush Yadayim of rain, it can't be because of the God.
You just took off your big day.
Big day kodesh.
Sorry.
Right? Now you're going to put on big day chol, right? You finish the avodah.
So you're not washing for the big day chol. You're washing because you took off the big day because they all the pashat for lavash. The pshita also needs its own kiddush yadayim b'raglayim, and you have to be fully clothed when you wash your hands. So they do it right then.
Just interesting that this.
We'll see later how it's done.
As opposed to the May.
We'll see later. Yeah. Don't do the clothes.
First one. There is the first one there from you taking before.
No, those are when you wash your hands. Of course, you wash your hands before you take your clothes or after you take your clothes. According to the Rabbanan, is before you take your clothes. Yeah. Every time. That's the chain. But when? So they're arguing every time. Okay, see you tomorrow, Mr. Shem. Back to normal time.